Max puts a hand on the shoulder of a woman in her mid-40s with expensive caramel highlights in her shoulder-length hair. She wears a navy blazer with white, tailored trousers and looks as though she should be taking the air in Monte Carlo, not standing in the entrance of the paediatric intensive care unit at St. Elizabeth's Children's Hospital, Birmingham. "Welcome to PICU." Layla takes them to the sink and waits while they wash their hands. Yin walks by trying not to stare, but surely feeling the same way as the rest of the staff about this American specialist who claims he can succeed where they have failed. His visit carries implicit criticism that makes them all as defensive as they are curious. Layla is curious too. But although she spends the next hour with Greg, he asks more than he offers, and she learns little beyond what she already knows. "Houston Pro Therapy has the highest success rates in the world," he says as they reach room 1. "We have state-of-the-art equipment and our staff are outstanding." Layla feels instantly protective of her own outstanding team. She wonders how Greg's staff would cope with NHS budget cuts and insufficient resources, whether Houston Pro Therapy ever has to rely on grateful parents to buy life-saving defibrillators. "The main advantage of proton therapy is being able to direct the beam and have it stop where you want it to stop." Greg is answering a question from Laura King, but as he talks, he makes eye contact with everyone in turn, making Layla feel as though she is back in the lecture room. "With medulloblastoma, we treat the cerebral spinal fluid pathway, the whole brain and the whole spine, but with none of the spread of radiation that occurs with conventional treatment." He is standing next to Dylan, moving his hands to indicate where and how treatment will be administered. But he hasn't yet said hello to him. He hasn't touched the child's arm and introduced himself, explained that he'd like to take a look at his chart and that he's here to help him. Layla knows that Dylan has little or no awareness of who is standing by his bed, but even so, she has to bite her lip. Dylan Adams is a child, not a case study. She strokes his forehead and silently tells him it's all okay, just a lot of talking. Layla has read the report in the papers that came via Laura King contesting the court order application. She has read it and she disagrees with it. Proton beam therapy may well reduce the tumour that sits at the base of Dylan's skull, but at what cost? Another 12 weeks of treatment, of travel, scans, radiation, in the hope that Dylan will have another few months, perhaps a few years, to live within the limitations he has been left with. Little or no control over his limbs, little or no speech, no coordination, epilepsy, hearing loss, cognitive impairment. "Dr. Sanders," Laura has a list of questions, her pen poised by each one. "The patient has posterior fossa syndrome as a result of his brain surgery, which I understand will affect executive functioning, speech, movement, and so on. Will proton beam therapy have a similar impact?" "On the contrary, the side effects from proton beam are significantly less than from surgery." The answer is too quick, too glib. And Layla knows that they are following a script, that Laura King's questions are for Layla's benefit, not Greg's. "If Dylan hadn't had a surgical resection," she says sharper than she should, "he would have died." Max looks at her. "But that's what you want now, isn't it?" Layla feels an angry lump in her throat. "No. That isn't what I want. What any of us want. We all want what's best for Dylan. And in my professional opinion, that isn't flying him halfway round the world and putting him through more treatment when— We'll keep this for the court, shall we?" Laura King steps forward, her voice clear and authoritative. The two women stare at each other, and then Layla looks away. She will save her energy and her evidence for when it is needed. The protesters have been at the hospital every day for 2 weeks. Emmett has hired security staff who stand by the entrance to PICU in black ties and fluorescent jackets, their badges mounted on bands round their left arms. The protesters have agreed to stay within a marked-out area between the bins and the edge of the car park. There are new